Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you're joining us from, and welcome to Hiring Practices of New Space Companies, presented by the Society of Satellite Professionals International. My name is Robert Bell. I'm Executive Director of SSPI, and we're very pleased to have you with us here today to talk about a very, very interesting topic, and I'll go into that in just a moment. But before I do, a word or two about our organization. It's been around since 1983 when it was founded in a bar in Denver, Colorado, and it's been partying ever since, as well as doing a lot of good work. And we serve a very singular mission, which is to make this industry, the space and satellite industry, one of the best in the world at attracting and engaging the talent that powers innovation. And we stress that because the industry over the last 50 years of its existence has tended to exist apart from telecom, apart from information technology, apart and focused largely on broadcast, and gradually build out its portfolio of customers and services, but it hasn't been fully integrated. And at the time, back in the old days, it was an industry that was the high-tech industry. And now, of course, it competes for talent as well as customers with a much, much broader array of companies. And so it's really time for this industry to step up its game and make sure that it gets its fair share of some of the amazing talent that's out there. So we currently have, having been born in a bar, we've now got about 4,000 members in some 40 nations around the world and 50 sponsoring organizations. Those are regional chapters and affiliates in the US, Europe, South America, Africa, and Asia. And year-round, throughout and in many different locations, we do business networking and educational events for the service of our members. Everything we do serves that one mission of attracting and nurturing the talent that powers innovation. We do it through 4 specific campaigns. The Next Generation campaign focuses on attracting young people, graduate and undergraduate level, into our industry. The New Century Workforce campaign, it focuses on helping the industry itself get better by studying companies that do it well and picking up their best practices. Better Satellite World is our educational campaign that does something that hasn't been done in a very long time, which is to make people in general, and customers in particular, and young people in particular, aware of the amazing contributions that this industry makes to the world. If there's any industry that makes a difference, it's this one. And yet that story really is not, goes untold far too often. And finally, the Leader's Quest. We're finding the people who count most in this industry because of their ingenuity, their daring, their incredible rate of innovation, whether they're established leaders or still new in their careers. And we make a point of calling them out, finding out what they did, and honoring their achievements. So what we're doing today is part of our New Century Workforce program, and it's aimed squarely at talking to the people who in this industry who know how to do what we're doing and do it well. So just some housekeeping details. All attendees will be in listen-only mode during this. But however, we do very much want to hear from you. So on your screen, you should find a little control panel, and it'll include a questions area. So you open that up, type in a question there, and that will get to me, and I'll be able to bring that into our dialogue. So I certainly encourage you to do that as you hear something that sparks an idea or a question in your mind. Following the webinar, the recording will be sent out to all attendees, and as well as being hosted on our website. And well, we'll make the presentation available, but I don't recommend it because there's not too many slides in it. If you have a technical support question, please, you might want to jot down these numbers, either for the U.S., toll-free, or outside the U.S., the other number. We have not yet had any technical problems with this service, but it's always good to have some place to retreat if you need to. So I have completed our introduction of SSPI, and the next thing that's going to happen is a very interesting conversation on the best hiring practices of the newest companies in the industry. And we think this is a good topic because the advent of new space companies has been both a blessing and a curse, I think, to the larger industry and the incumbent companies that have been in business in it for either for decades or up to a half century. And of course, part of the curse is the fact that there's somebody else called New Space, and so what's the alternative? But beyond that, their sheer ambition and the kind of great rock star presence of these new companies has really caught the imagination of young people and has helped make space and satellite cool again, which is just fantastic for everybody. On the other hand, though, of course, new space companies represent new competition for talent, in addition to the Googles and the Facebooks and the Amazons and all the other name brand companies that any tech firm has to compete with for talent. So it's a bigger party than it used to be. It's a more competitive party than it used to be. And there's a great opportunity for the newest companies in the industry to learn from ones that have been doing it for a long time, and vice versa for the incumbent companies in the industry to learn from the experience of firms that are having to basically build that airplane while they're flying it. So to talk about that today, we've got a really interesting group of, these are all talent professionals. They include Kelly Faherty, who's the Senior Human Resources and Recruiting Manager for Kymeta Corporation, and I'll let her tell you very briefly about them. Scott Sparks, who is the Senior Director of People, great title, Scott, Senior Director of People at Virgin Orbit, which used to be Virgin Galactic, and has now created this division focused specifically on launching things into space that are not people. And Kelly Tobin, who's Manager of Talent Acquisition and Compliance at Intelsat, which is the longest tenured company in our industry and has a great deal to say. So I'd like to start by asking each of our panelists, and we'll start with Kelly Faherty, because you're on the left on my screen, to briefly introduce yourself and your company so we'll know what kind of point of view you bring to the discussion. And if you could just mention how many employees you currently have. So, Kelly?
Thank you, Robert. Good morning. Well, it's morning in Seattle. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kelly Faherty, HR and Recruiting Manager at Kymeta. Kymeta spun out from Intellectual Ventures in August of 2012, so we're on year 5. It's definitely been exciting. We're building electronically beam steering antennas out of metamaterials, and along with the services that go along with them. And we currently have 162 employees.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kelly. Scott, could you tell us about yourself and the company?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Sparks. I'm the head of people for Virgin Orbit. I've been with Virgin Orbit for a little over a year, but I've been in the HR and different HR leadership roles for over 20 years. I've worked in many different industries, but spent 16 of those years in big aerospace and other high-tech industries. Virgin Orbit is a launch services provider, so we're in the final stages of testing and preparing for Launcher 1, which is a 2-stage expendable rocket that's going to launch from our mobile air launch pad, which is a dedicated 747-400 carrier aircraft, which is named Cosmic Girl. So we are basically revolutionizing how we do launch. No more do we wait for a pad on the ground. We'll take it up in the air and do it from there. We are currently at 375 people at Virgin Orbit, and by the end of this year we'll be at about 440, and we have aggressive plans in 2018 for continued growth.
So you're going to be a very busy guy.
Very busy.
Okay. And finally, the other Kelly Tobin from Intelsat.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Robert, for having us. Happy to be here. Intelsat has traditionally, as many know, been a business-to-business wholesaler of satellite bandwidth, and we are transforming, as the rest in the satellite industry are, and in particular into a managed service provider. So we have recently, to meet that end, organized ourselves to focus around 3 main verticals, focusing our efforts on media, mobility, and broadband lines of business. And here in Tyson's Corner, we have about 500 employees. Across the world, there's a total of 1,200. Another large office is in Atlanta with 300 employees, and there's about 100 in California. We also have Intelsat General, which is our government arm, and they are a separate legal entity focusing on government business, and they also have an additional 100 employees also based here in Tyson's in the same building, just separate offices.
Excellent, Kelly. Thank you very much. Let's actually get our discussion kicked off with you, Kelly Tobin, because Intelsat, what you didn't mention is that Intelsat has been in this business literally since there was a satellite business. The first commercial satellite ever really that was launched and put into service was Intelsat 1, so that's quite a history. And of course, as you've mentioned, you are now pushing out a whole new generation of services built on a high throughput satellite architecture. So the company hires obviously for a very broad range of positions. What is your most typical hire, and what are the sort of in general the qualifications and experience that you're looking for in that person?
Absolutely, great question. So yes, as you mentioned, we are a legacy company, and we are transitioning as the industry transitions, bringing new innovative products and services to the market, such as that epic high throughput satellite you mentioned. We are launching 37E this Friday, so that's exciting. We'll have a big event here in the office.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
I'll be watching.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, and you can stay tuned to social media channels for updates on that. But yes, to achieve our mission, naturally it takes a broad mix of people. As I always say, talent is the fuel for business growth, one of my favorite quotes. So of course we need a broad mix of people in all departments, such as folks for all the typical functions, accounting, IT, HR, communications, marketing, and legal. But of course, and what this group is probably more interested in, a large bulk of our openings are more specific to our industry, such as for satellite ops and satellite engineering. So for those roles, we're really looking for a background in aerospace engineering, which is ideal. Of course, prior experience working for any other satellite or telecos. In addition to the aerospace engineering degree, other engineering degrees work great as well. For network operations roles, because of course we have network operations centers and satellite operations centers around the world, and for other roles, we are looking for candidates with RF technology experience, and that's a big one. We're also trying to continuously hire innovative product managers to develop and launch those new products we've been mentioning, and to serve our managed services. So we're looking for those candidates that have full life cycle product experience. For some other roles, link budget experience as well as C++ are always hard to find skills that recruiters are commonly searching for. But I did want to mention that great candidates in general are those that I see with an MBA and a combo engineering degree. So this is usually a great candidate for many of our roles across the board, with that really good, really useful combination of business and strategy expertise, as well as the technical engineering skills.
Well, yeah, I'd like to hire one of those myself. By contrast, and thank you very much, Kelly. That was really great because you covered the ground. I expected you to talk more about software than you did, because software, as Andresen says, is eating the world. You mentioned C++, but is that?
We're commonly looking for people with iDirect platform experience. So yeah, and
but it's very specific to that kind of technology as opposed to just doing a lot of software development. Okay, interesting.
Right.
Okay, so we've heard now about Intelsat's typical hire and qualifications they're looking for. By contrast, Virgin Orbit, for us in the satellite business, was founded in 2004. So Scott, I'll ask you the same question about your most typical hire and the qualifications and experience you're seeking now.
Yeah, for us, we're in a unique space right now of the types of people that we're looking for, because we've kind of moved out of the R&D phase and we're moving into the manufacturing phase. So we're not only that, as well as our company is growing really fast, so we're also looking for infrastructure type roles like HR, finance, program management. But our biggest technical side roles that we're looking for is on the engineering and tech side. From the tech side, we're always looking for folks that have experience with assembly, composites experience, because our rocket is mainly manufactured out of composites. We're not making a big heavy metal rocket because it's going to be hanging on the side of an airplane at this point. We need it to be very light, so we're looking for folks with composite experience, and that can be very junior level experience to many years of experience doing that. We're looking for folks that have experience in test and propulsion. And then on the engineering side, we're looking for talent in all the areas. So we're looking for, because yes, we've got rocket number 1 design, but we're also going to continue to reiterate and look at other ways to design the rocket to be more effective and carry heavier payloads. So we'll be looking for structural folks, GNC folks, software folks, folks with experience in propulsion, see it folks. So we're looking for, all over. We're not just looking for the typical aerospace engineer. Folks that have worked in other industries that are parallel or that have strong engineering backgrounds and creative experience that basically show your ability to think outside the box and do things differently. We're looking for that. We're looking for folks that have startup experience that is very valuable to us, both from a startup and a big aerospace experience. We value those experiences equally because you're both going to bring something different to the table that will help us as a collaborative team come up with a solution that's going to, service our customers to the best ability. And then, the individual has to have the ability and interest to join a really fast-paced environment that moves at the speed of thought. Because, we'll talk about something in an engineering room, and we're in one big facility, and then we have a small test facility out in Mojave. We can literally go out and get the engine, bring it back here to Long Beach, do some tweaks and things to it, and get it back out for testing in the same day. So we really move very fast here. So that's the kind of environment. And so as far as backgrounds go, it can be somebody from a very junior level experience to 10, 15 years experience in the aerospace industry. It really varies based on the role that we're trying to add to the team. We have our current team that we have built. I mean, we have people from every corner of the industry that has basically had their finger on everything that's flying from a satellite to a rocket to an airplane. We've got people in all over our team that have that experience, so we're always looking to add to that experience cadre so that we can continue to do the great things that we're doing here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That's a huge contrast with the story before it, because you're in a completely different business. But I want to come back to this issue of the startup and growth and the speed of business. But before we do that, let's turn to Kelly Faherty and ask her, since Kymeta is the newest kid on the block, having been founded in 2011, Sarah, what's your typical hire, and what are the qualifications and experiences you're seeking?
So our typical hire, I would say, is much different than it was 4.5 years ago when I joined. When I joined Kymeta, we were focused on RF antenna engineers, people that have worked in the Ka, Ku band arena. And now, obviously, we still hire those types of folks, but it's really focused on software. I mean, we really cover all disciplines, from electromagnetics, antenna engineers, to embedded software, to cloud software, to the cloud specifically for our services capability. So it's really a wide range, and that's not even including regular infrastructure as we grow. Obviously, we need more HR folks and operations and finance, etc. So we look for folks that can work in a startup environment or have some exposure to that. Obviously, we hire those folks that have been around the block and have been in a production environment that haven't worked in a startup, but we really need people that are willing to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty. It's how I explain it is, you don't just have a box of work and that's your box, and when your box is finished, you go home. You really get to touch a lot of different things at Kymeta, which makes it more exciting. It's not exciting for those that want to just have a box, though.
Boy, my box never seems to get empty. I don't quite know what I'm doing wrong.
I know.
Just before we launch, I just want to share. Thank you very much, Kelly, for that. I didn't cut you off, did I?
No, you're fine.
Okay, good. Just a quick question from our audience, which is a nice practical one. We've got 3 experts who could probably advise about this. For somebody out there looking for a job, what do you think is the best source, the best single source or the best set of sources, either online, newsletters, or other? You want to take a crack at that?
Source for finding candidates? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Kelly Faherty.
All right, thanks, Kelly Tobin. Are we talking about sources for finding candidates?
No, we're flipping this around. This is what the candidate's looking for you.
Candidates are looking for us.
Looking for. Where can I get? I've got some skills. Where should I look in this industry? Where do I find? It's the typical start. I mean, every person who's starting in any kind of industry has got that problem. It's just this big blank wall. They have no idea where to go, and they can easily go to a job board and find 3,000 listings, almost none of which are good for them. So what should they actually be looking for?
I would join, quite frankly, groups on LinkedIn, groups of, and then you will find your companies that way. Personally, Kelly, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. LinkedIn was the first thing that came to mind. I know we invest a lot there. Recruiters are constantly on that platform, and I love it when people reach out to me directly, and send me a personal note and, just a brief, succinct note on, why they're a fit for our roles and what they're particularly interested in.
Interesting. Scott, have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo the same thing, but for us also, we also reach out to professional associations to try and recruit. So it's important to network in your professional associations that you're part of, or that in the area that you have interest in. We use a number of different tools to recruit from, whether it's Indeed, ladders, all of the traditional, sources we're using, but LinkedIn is a really important one. And you know what? It's okay for you to reach out to recruiters or HR folks, or even folks that have jobs, and just ask them for 5 minutes. Say, hey, I'm not trying to pound you about trying to get a job, but I'd like to just explore. How did you get where you're at? Offer to take them to Starbucks just to get information and just learn. We do that all the time. We have folks here that just have an interest, and we help them out. So I would encourage you to take that leap of faith and reach out to folks and just say, I'm new to this community. I'm trying to figure out my space and where I need to be, and I'd like to learn from you of how you got where you're at, because eventually one day I'd like a job like that.
Excellent advice, all of you. Thank you very much. Yes, and I certainly can support joining a professional society. If you're a student, you can join SSPI for free, and we'll be happy to talk to you about what happens next. Okay, so back to our conversation. Before, I've got some more questions coming in, but I'm going to get some of mine in here first. Kelly Tobin, what are some of the things that Intelsat does to identify and attract new talent into the company? And I'm thinking about talent that's not currently working at one of your competitors, but talent that's out there looking for opportunity.
Excellent, great. Yeah, and I just wanted to mention, I loved, Scott, your quote about moving at the speed of thought, because that's great. It sometimes feels like things are happening that fast. And although we are a legacy company, we are bringing in more and more junior folks as well, who will innovate and bring their cutting-edge skills. We've hired almost 250 new staff last year, and a lot of them are from, just have 2 to 5 years of experience from, either recent graduate programs. Maybe they've come in through our associates program, where we rotate people around the company to get them just really kind of well-versed in Intelsat, our culture, and to be well-rounded, basically. I guess first and foremost, as you said, Robert, on your question, naturally companies are doing a great deal of hiring and promoting from within. I believe our recent statistic was around 22% on that for internal fills. In addition, the second probably top source of hire would be through our referral program, which is very generous for our current employees. And about 20% of our hires are from referrals of current employees referring to us, people that they know, people they used to work with. This is a really good source of hire that we find makes a solid employee that will stick around for a long time and just do great things. In addition to internal promotions and transfers and referrals, we do use the traditional sourcing tools that we talked about to search and hire people for through LinkedIn, Career Builder, Dice, as well as the more modern approach of social media. So we've been investing a lot of our time across the communications team here, collaborating with the recruitment team, utilizing social media, engaging with candidates, attracting them through our brand online, through our numerous accounts on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We have specific Intelsat careers pages on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as well as other sites. And the professional associations are great that Scott mentioned. I know in In some cases, of course, we've posted ads on SSPI's job board, which has been great. We are members of other industry associations like the Technical Association Group in Georgia, where every member of our Atlanta team has a membership to that networking group, and they're able to attend their events. But yeah, we've also developed a strong partnership with a lot of the local universities around the area, as well as down in Atlanta with Georgia Tech. We do a great deal with them, sponsoring their capstone project and working closely with the Aerospace Engineering School, as well as some of the other engineering departments as well.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and it really brings to mind Scott's comment that you got to become part of the ecosystem, because if that number of that percentage of your new hires are based on referrals, if you're intersecting with these technical groups, it's obviously you just got to really be part of the ecosystem. Scott, what about at Kymeta? How do you identify and attract people? I'm sorry, you're not Kymeta, you're Virgin Orbit, excuse me.
No, but I thank you for the promotion, my gosh.
Come on over, Scott. You can come join us.
Good job, Kelly.
No, so we exactly, right? No, we do a fair amount of referral business. I mean, we do a lot of referral business, quite honestly. We have a lot of folks that have also, kind of have been following us both from when we were, a seedling thought of the part of the human spaceflight side, and now they see that we're, we've separated as our own company, and so folks are getting, there's a lot of interest in regards to what we're doing and the revolution that we're trying to create in the launch services arena. So we have a heavy traffic flow of folks that just generally apply, as well as folks that are, networking with peers that have come from other companies and, competitors in the same space, but not doing things the same way as us. But we also, we do a fair amount of direct sourcing, so looking for that strong talent out there through a number of different tools where we'll go target them. One of our biggest feeders since I've come is I've kind of changed how we do our internship program, and I've really been pushing leaders to, there's a reason we're doing the internship program. It's not just for students to get to come and have the experience, but also as this is kind of a test thing. So, they're a senior coming in here. We know that they're going to be graduating in 6 months to a year later. Then if they were really strong at their performance through the internship program, they should walk out of here with an offer in hand, so that they know that they're going to be, they don't have to worry about that. They can focus on their senior projects and whatnot, and then they're going to, as soon as they're done and they've got their degree, they're going to rejoin us as a professional engineer. So those are some of the ways that we're, trying to be more aggressive and focusing on getting the best talent to join our organization. And birds of a feather flock together, right? I mean, I know it's a trite saying, but good hires and good folks know other good folks that they've worked with, and if we're looking in that same space, that's always the recruiter's first spot as they stop at. If, let's say we're looking for a composites tech or we're looking for a propulsion engineer, the recruiter's first stop is to somebody that's doing that job and say, who do you know? Let's talk about how you can, refer them, or we can, talk about how we can create a sourcing plan to find those individuals, and it's been very successful for us, and we're going to continue that.
Thank you very much. And finally, now let's see if I can get this right. How about Kelly at Virgin Orbit?
Oh, Scott, you're hiring me now?
Why don't you
exactly? We're doing it.
We'll
just all work together.
What the company does to find new talent.
I have to echo both Scott and Kelly's comments. Referrals. Good people know good people. Scott, you stole mine. What I was going to say. But it's true. I mean, it's been true. I've been recruiting for many, many years, and it's always been true. So that's my first stop as well. We do offer a referral program here internally, and people are incented to refer their friends, former coworkers, etc. Next stop is, obviously we post on our website, and that goes out to all of the other sites, if you will. So we get a lot of great applicants. Primarily, we have some good press, especially right now. So lots of good applicants, and LinkedIn. It's tried and true, and for direct sourcing, it's my #1 stop.
Thank you. We've had a question from the audience about sort of what the array of means are for people looking for a job to connect with you, and I think you've all done a great job of talking about it. It is everything. We are on social media, we are on LinkedIn, we are on the web, we are in a lot of places, but most importantly, we're part of human networks, and so that's really needs to be everybody's starting point. So thank you. Just for a change of pace here, could you give me just the elevator pitch? So I don't know who Intelsat is, I don't know who Virgin Orbit is, I don't know who Kymeta is. Why should I come work for you if I'm somebody you really want? And Scott, why don't we just start with you for
yeah, I mean, what we traditionally try to convey is that, we've got an opportunity for you to be part of a revolution in the launch world. You're going to be working on stuff and challenges that have not really been done before, but are related to the experiences that you have. So this is an opportunity to be part of that change. You've got an opportunity to be part of an aerospace experience that's definitely not traditional. Here at Virgin Orbit, it's a Virgin environment where we are flat organizationally. You've got the opportunity to get your hands dirty and have your opinions heard on the projects. This is an opportunity to challenge and be challenged. It's not this hierarchy where you have to, float things up through your boss. You can go direct to the program manager and say, that's not going to work, and here's why I think it's not going to work, or that's, here's how we need to make these improvements. And, here at VO, we work hard and we play hard. We've got happy hour every other Friday. We have a lot of social groups and things that are happening, whether it's sports related or wellness related or whatever your kick is. There's a group for you here, and we do that. We're also not a company that's a 9-to-5 company. Some people choose to work super early in the morning or late in the evening. It's an opportunity for you to just bring your best engineering cap or infrastructure or professional cap and do your thing. And that's what we've got.
Elevator ride's over. I'm already at the 20th floor. Thank you. That's great. And what a great pitch, right? Come and help us make a revolution. Let's just change the pace. Go over to Kelly Tobin, whose company is actually sparking its own revolution inside what it does, but nonetheless has a very different history. Kelly Tobin, what's your elevator pitch?
Sure. At Intelsat, we are constantly transforming with the industry. As you know, we have a legacy of innovation over decades since Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, and we broadcast that. But to accomplish our goal of, bringing these new products to the market within our media, mobility, and broadband sectors, we're looking for bold thinkers, just like Scott was saying, people who can move as fast as they think, who will bring in great new ideas, continue to work with us to transform the customer experience by bringing and creating new products to the market. These services will continue to enable globalized connectivity without boundaries and, connect the unconnected as far as in remote villages, in Africa and different places around the world. So it's just a really exciting industry to be in. We're doing great things. So it's exciting, just bringing in people who meet our KPIs. We hire for a number of competencies, and when we find people that we know are a great fit, we hold on to them and we don't let them go.
There you go. Well, that's good. Yeah. And now we're at the 20th floor with you. And finally, Kelly Faherty, we're going to take a ride down to the first floor. So tell me what the pitch for people at Kymeta.
That's a fast elevator you have, Robert.
Oh, that's not that fast.
It's an exciting time to be here. We are moving from a research and development, not a company, not that we're giving up research and development, but to getting products on the market. So it's exciting, it's fun, it's fast. You get the opportunity to work with brilliant folks. I've been around, and I have never worked with such smart individuals. Now, the people on the phone probably would say the same exact thing. So amazing people, and we all try to have fun at the same time. We have company lunches, happy hours, parties, fun times, as well as working on ground-breaking technology.
Very good. Thank you very much. Hey, you got there. I'm still on the third floor, so we got time. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the sort of points of entry, what Esther Dyson called the surface area of your organizations, and how they, all the ways in which they connect to different different opportunities for job seekers and for career builders. I want to talk now, sort of shift the discussion now to talking about, so now we've decided to hire somebody, we want to bring them in, we want to do several things. We want to make sure that they, know where how to find their way to the cafeteria or whatever it is, but we want to make sure they're connected with the right people, that they have experiences which are going to help develop them into a really productive member of our team, and at the same time give us a chance to really assess whether we made the right hire. So I guess since we were just talking to you, Kelly Faherty, let's just go back to you. Obviously, you're running through a lot of people now, so how do you design that? And I know that some of it has to do with what's going on with the direct manager, managers, the direct reports of those people. But from a corporate standpoint, how do you design that process? Where do you need to train? Where do you need to bring additional value into that?
It's always a work in progress. I don't know how 5 years goes so fast, but it's constantly like, oh, I need to really make this a formal policy or a formal process. We really spend a lot of time on the forefront in making sure we're making the right hire. And I would say for the most part, we do a good job there. We do, and that's all by interview process, right? But past the interview process, we work directly with the hiring managers to make sure we make an onboarding experience that is good for the team and good for the new employee coming on board. So that includes that person meeting with all of the members of that specific team, along with members of other teams that they're going to interact with or not interact with, quite frankly, because we're a small enough company where everything is so cross-functional. So several meetings over the first couple of weeks of really getting to know Kymeta. We have a technical onboarding event that happens. We try to make it, our chief scientist makes it happen about once a quarter, but we're going to make him do it maybe once a month here soon. So really, so people understand the history of Kymeta and where we are today. In addition, we do new hire lunches and really try to make our new employees feel at home.
When does that process? I'm sorry. When does that process kind of stop? I've asked this question of a few people in your position, and I'm always interested in the answers. So when are we sort of done with, quote unquote, onboarding somebody?
Quite frankly, at Kymeta, and I know it lasts longer at other companies, but at Kymeta, it's after the first couple of weeks.
Okay, you're on board. All right.
You're on board. You're on board. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have follow-up meetings or other training meetings throughout the organization, but you're pretty much on board and functional as a contributing member of the team.
Do you do all your, because you've got a new technology, do you do most of your training in-house, or are you working with universities or others that are coming out of your research and development background?
We do most of our training in-house as far as technical training. We do, your normal HR training. We have a service for that, but yes, mostly in-house.
So I'm sorry, I think I cut you off. Are you going to add something else to this?
I can't remember that, Robert.
Yeah,
I haven't had enough coffee,
Too. I understand. It's early in the morning for you. Let's go over to the other Kelly Tobin, just again, because we're going to go from a company that's just a few years old to one that's got some legs behind it and has built a lot of systems. I happen to know, for instance, you have your own university, which is kind of interesting.
Yes.
Name. So Kelly Tobin, could you talk a little bit about that onboarding and then early talent development process?
Sure, absolutely. Well, one of the things that I really appreciated joining Intelsat about a year ago is our real solidified systems and processes across the board. It was really a seamless transition for me once I came in and was onboarded, went through orientation. Everything's kind of all set up, and although we're constantly innovating and changing things, the systems and processes are great. So all the employees go through 2 days of orientation before specific onboarding with their teams. So that orientation is through HR, watching videos and things like that, and sitting with the HR team and getting to know each other. One of the things that's great is a lot of us who start on the first day together end up, doing monthly lunches, and just it's a good way to kind of get to know people across the industry. Also assigning kind of pals, like people to help you get acclimated and oriented, and it's usually someone from outside your department, so again, kind of give you a broader perspective. But after that, onboarding and orientation, no matter your function, every employee has a 100-day plan that the hiring manager will put in place and give you on your first week. So it tells you, again, as the other Kelly was mentioning, people that you should meet with and get to know. We're a matrixed organization, so we're collaborating across the organization. So there's lots of people for, each new employee to sit and meet with. But in particular, some of the teams, such as the sales teams, they're really working closely with our training department to develop intensive and detailed onboarding, which includes HR and sales-specific skills development. We're also, I should mention, developing an important training which will be all about our product lines. So this will be a product-specific training for new employees across the board for all employees, just to learn about and be, really conversant in those new products we're bringing to the market. And as you mentioned, Robert, we do have our Intelsat Global University to foster continuous learning. And this does have, a broad array of hundreds of constantly available trainings in any of the areas that you might need, whether it's, Microsoft Office, Excel, PowerPoint, et cetera, expert level, as well as, leadership trainings and really tangible skills you can use day in, day out. And I've benefited from and participated in a lot of those.
Yeah, so from the other Kellys, wake-up call, I'm sure, having repeatedly, geez, I need to standardize this, Intelsat, of course, has had the time and the scale to do that. Scott, let's go over to you. What about that process for a new hire moving into and becoming, hopefully, a really productive part of the team?
Yeah, I came into the organization a little over a year ago, and it was kind of a quick, turn and burn orientation. It was, here's the stuff you got to know, go to your desk and get cracking. And so when I kind of evaluated, the things that we were trying to do and the success that we wanted from the people, well, yes, technically they're probably extremely bright and able to just hit the ground running and doing technical work and working with their team. I wanted to spend some time and resources in reevaluating that process. So, again, what my peers said, making the right hire is the first thing, because for us, it's not just about technical, it's about culture and are you going to be successful in this environment, and the pace that we work at. And, I keep saying non-traditional, but until you experience it, it is not like any aerospace company you've worked at as far as how we partner together and work together. And so for our folks, I mean, we even start before you start with the orienting process. And we're right now piloting a program where before you even come on board, you're going to get an intro welcome video that is customized to you, that's from your peers and from your leadership and from the greater Virgin Orbit leadership, telling welcome aboard, and giving them a link to our internal site of here's stuff you need to know and be ready for on your first day. So they already have some access to do some paperwork and things and readabouts that will be helpful to them in advance of starting. We're also in the midst of transforming. We're probably about 90% there, and we're beta testing our new program, but it's basically a day and a half indoctrination process, we call it, where you're kind of learning about Virgin Orbit. So about our culture, about our roots, about how we got where we're at, about how we behave and what the values are, safety, how we're making a difference, learning about our customers that are not traditional aerospace companies or customers that are government that are trying to put satellites up for varied reasons, but more community-based customers that are looking at how you provide internet access to people that are underserved, or how we've got customers that are going to put weather satellites that are going to help with climate change and how we address that as a community of community as citizens of the world. So ours is like 3+ months right off the bat, because even after you finish that orientation, you'll kind of go back to your desk and you will have a kind of a desk buddy or a peer that's going to help you get connected. In addition, you'll have an electronic checklist of objectives and things to accomplish over the next 3 months, in addition to learning about your new job and getting cracking. But the actions might include like getting out to know certain people outside of your organization, taking certain computer-based trainings to make you more proficient, and attending other trainings in person that are going to
interrupt you for a second. So is that a customized thing you try to do depending upon what the job category is?
Yeah, I mean there'll be generic things there'll be generic things that everyone will need to do, but we will also partner with your leadership before you come on board to look at other things and people that you need to get connected with. So that's all baked into your plan from day one. So it's not like the manager is just kind of left okay, who should I get them hooked up with? Let me think about this. We want to be way in advance, have that all thought out and planned out, so that everyone has the opportunity to be as successful as possible once they hit the ground.
Well, thank you. I've got one more question of my own that I actually want to try out on you, but I've got some great ones very specific ones from our audience. So I just want to, and I think they can be answered pretty quickly. One of them, two of them relate to somebody, a young person who's, in this particular case, is a student from another country who's interested in satellite manufacturing, in the way that a student would be, which is he knows something, but of course there's a lot more that he'd like to know. And he's just sort of, he's asking the question, I don't have any experience right now, so what should I be doing from a career standpoint? I think satellite manufacturing is cool. His country is doing a lot of interesting stuff in this. What do I do? This is a real, what do I do to my next step?
Okay, I can.
Satellite, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, I can. We don't exactly. We don't manufacture the satellites. Intelsat does design them, though. But I would say to that person with no experience but looking to get exposure, as I'm sure Callie and Scott would say as well, they should get an internship, interning with a company that is doing what they are wanting to do. To get your leg in the door, sometimes, that's the best way in. If there's not, an entry-level role that says, 0+ experience, usually jobs are 3+. Sometimes they're 1 to 3, but people can get discouraged because the job description a lot of times entails a lot of specifics that, they're nowhere near attaining. So I would say, internships first. Secondly, if those job descriptions are, the most junior ones that the company has posted, have them reach out to the recruiter and say, hey, this is where I'm at, and would any of these positions flex some of their requirements, or could they be could you hire someone that has less than what's posted? Because sometimes when we can't find what we're looking for, we will take down and tailor job descriptions to meet what the market has available. So even though he thinks maybe he doesn't have experience, there's probably some good skills there that we'd be interested in.
Thank you. There's actually a number of questions that all relate to this, and there's also an answer that I've heard from a couple of people who are not necessarily actually in the human resources business, but they spend a lot of time. They're in operations or engineering, but they spend a lot of time on these kind of issues. And the answer was passion. When we're looking for people who are passionate about this, and that will drive you a long way. If that passion leads you into getting into a robotics contest, or going for an internship as you suggested, or just finding a way to hang out with some of these people that you would ultimately like to work with, that's going to come across in a positive way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because those are things that we look at. It's not just that you've got the experience or the education, but what have you done to get networked in the community? Like, we participate in all kinds of different things that are like even STEM related, like rocket competitions and robotics competitions, and we're always looking at students that are at those events and who's participating, and go up to people. When you talk about the passion and the interest in that industry, those people that come up to us and that hey, I'd love to learn more, that talk to us, you make that connection, and I'm not saying be aggressive, but take the reins and go out and make those connections. Don't just apply for a job and then just sit back and wait to see what happens. It won't happen for you. I'll tell you. You need to make your path, and you need to make those network connections that are going to help you in the future. So yes, I would definitely.
It's easier for some people and harder for others, but it's just a basic requirement.
Definitely.
Okay, now I'm going to take the moderator's privilege and ask my final question, which is something that we think about a lot at SSPI. Of course, we're dealing with, we've got Intelsat here, which is doing about $2 billion in revenue right now and reinventing itself while it's doing it. You've got two companies, Kymeta and Virgin Orbit, that are still in sort of the cash burning phase of your existence. So that means that, for instance, for Virgin, for Kymeta, you've got to do a lot with a little. We've heard from Intelsat about the kind of resources and procedures they've been able to build over time by having the stable business. So what I'm really going to ask each of you is, let's say you've got to figure out how to design, a meaningful recruitment, onboarding, and then talent development program for a company that doesn't have your resources, right? Because you've got a lot of resources, all three of you, although I'm sure you feel like you don't have enough. What are the core essentials? Because we're really interested in helping the companies that are not doing the great things that you're doing to at least make sure they do better. So, you've all got a lot of experience in this business. What do you think are just the essentials you can't do without? And I'm going to suspect that most of them don't cost very much money. Who wants to take that on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say a few things that I think are critical in the front is, understanding your culture and, and even though it may be in a culture that's going to evolve, but understanding what a successful candidate profile is going to look like, and then investing time, effort, and resources into making sure that you're making those right hiring decisions at the forefront. I think the worst mistake you can have is not having those two things kind of tied together and working on the front end, because what it will in turn do is it's going to in turn create an environment where you've now hired maybe people that have the technical background that you need, yet when they get there, they're not a cultural fit, or they're not happy, or they're not going to be successful because they didn't understand what that really meant to come into your company on the back end. And you definitely won't have the time or resources to be rehiring. That's a very expensive process to have to rehire into positions that you thought you had taken care of, and you're now moving on to other positions or other things that are focused for your company. But the most critical thing to me is making sure that you have your cultural or what's going to be successful candidate profile identified, and making sure you're recruiting to that skill set in addition to the technical piece.
Excellent, thank you. Kelly Tobin, what's your view in terms of what you just absolutely have to do if you don't have a lot of resource to throw at it? What makes a successful hire, onboard, and career?
Sure. I mean, I think that 28%, we've all heard this number, 28% of employees quit in their first 90 days. So more and more HR teams are focused on, how do we improve our onboarding? How do we improve our orientation? So I think for us, it's that continuous improvement process where, first and foremost, candidate experience is everything. So finding out, day one after someone starts, recruiter that hires them reaches back out to them, hey, let's set up coffee. We have this coffee with new employees program with the Starbucks card recruiters take, all the new employees out just to kind of, close the loop there. Like, hey, how was your whole process? What feedback do you have? Like you said, it's not very expensive. You can even do it with a free coffee in the office probably, but we like to go outside of the office with them. But, we just do our best to stay current with those trends. There's all those free white papers that are being sent to HR and recruiters from Glassdoor and LinkedIn, conferences we can attend, like Career Builders Empower recently out in Chicago is able to, and, just making sure that we find out how the application process went, how the onboarding went, get that feedback, stay in touch with them, and just, continuously improve and make the processes better and better.
Okay, so you're focusing on learning how to do it better by studying how you're doing it yourself. And finally,
right, candidate
Kelly,
experience. Yep.
Yeah, Kelly Faraday, what's your view?
I would agree with both Scott and Kelly. Candidate experience is hugely important, and quite frankly, just being honest, right? There are a lot of recruiters out there that sell. And being honest, I find, is the best policy. I know I sound like a mom, but it's true, right? I'm not going to tell somebody that they're going to come in here and say they're not going to work any overtime and it's going to be a 9-to-5 job and it's really easy, because it's not. It's a little crazy. I mean, you have to kind of like crazy to work at Kymeta, and it's crazy in a good way. I mean, I've been here for a while, but being honest with the candidate, setting up a good candidate experience, educating your managers and your interviewing team on how to interview and how to provide a good candidate experience is hugely important, knowing that, you know, the majority of the people that we interview are technical and the interviewers are also technical. So making sure that everybody's in touch with their humanness, for lack of a better word, is hugely important. And then moving on, like Kelly said, to getting feedback from folks that have started on how things are going is really important.
Those are 3 great answers, none of which are what I expected you to say, but I think that they're very,
what were we supposed to say?
There wasn't anything you were supposed to say.
Oh my God, we didn't get the answer response.
I'm sorry, guys. This interview didn't go very well.
We don't have the skills you're looking for.
Yeah, I know. That's the way it is. Sometimes they can't all be winners. Listen, I want to thank you, all 3 of you, very much for taking this hour to be with us and to share your expertise with our many, many listeners who will be able to access this also after the event and share it with the people they know. So to Kelly Faherty, to Scott Sparks, and to Kelly Tobin, my gratitude and best wishes for your continued success out there.
Thanks for having us, Robert.
Yes, thank you, Robert. Have a great day, everyone.
Well, thank you. Don't go quite yet. I just want to tell you that on October 26th, we're going to be coming back again, doing another webinar, and this one's going to be called "What Millennials Want in a Career and What They Really Need," because of course what we want in this life and what we need in this life are not always the same. So we're going to look at that from the very particular standpoint of this space and satellite industry, and see how we can all do better what we do by observing the process, as Kelly Tobin said to us. So please, if you are not already part of SSPI as a corporate sponsor, as a member, I encourage you to do that. We've got a great number of companies and impressive people who think that we're important, and we certainly hope that you'll feel the same things. So good luck to you all out there in this morning, this evening, or this afternoon, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.